Hey guys, we're going to be doing our Baby Steps 3 project now, which is modeled on Alice Chance's audience choir. Take a look at these 4 squares. Each of these squares will probably inspire a different sort of mood, maybe a particular smell or taste, or even you're thinking of certain sounds in your head already. Similar to what Alice has done, for each of these squares you need to compose 45 seconds of looping material in Soundtrap or GarageBand. So you should end up with 4 different tracks reflecting inspiration from each square. And you are in fact encouraged to use the pitch material we already used for our baby steps 1 and 2. It doesn't have to be the same, but you've already done, the work, so why not? And feel free to add in ambient noises, as you will see in a second that I've also done. There's no real right or wrong way to go about it, but as long as the inspiration that you draw from these 4 squares is clear, then that's all fine. You will compose 4 loops, and then on top of that, you're going to compose 3 melodies. When we present this to the class, we will need to present it like Alice did, ideally with each person playing 1 looping track from their device. So you're going to have to hand in 4 separate looping tracks, and as for those 3 melodies, you can either play it back to us, you can perform it on an instrument, or you can use your voice. Hopefully that is all clear. Let's dive into the details. So guys, I've got here open my first looping track that I've composed. Take a guess at which square this was inspired by. As you might have guessed, I interpreted the blue square to remind me of the ocean. So you can see I've used some actual ocean wave effects. There will be a link provided to the site I used where you can download royalty-free tracks and audio without having to pay for it, which is always a plus. So I've also put some synth sound on top and gone for a kind of peaceful, somewhat sparse kind of vibe. Let's listen to loop track number 2. Cool, so as you probably figured out, I was inspired by the square with the leaves, and I put in some forest bird noises, again from the same site. I used 2 guitar sounds, one of which is more sustained, and I used the lower octave, and then I used an acoustic guitar sound on top. And as you can probably see, they have been looped, okay? You don't have to compose 45 seconds of complete utter new material. Feel free to loop this, and as well as use the pitch sets that you've been doing and using for baby steps 1 and 2. It doesn't have to be the same, but you've already done some work on this stuff, so you might as well, keep using it. On to track 3. This might seem controversial, but for me, this was the red square. The red square had no pattern, it was all the same, so that conveys to me a constantness, and I tried to portray that. As you can see visually, there's constantly sound happening, and it doesn't really let up or, you know, ease off at all. Loop track number 4 goes like this. Alright, I think that's enough of that. No prizes for guessing which one this is. The sparse texture and the fact that the polka dots are kind of spread out, and that fact that there are dots inspired me to put in some literal water drops. It's like when you have to draw a dot on the page, your pen drops onto the page. So for me, I thought, oh, that's kind of like water drops, you know, the dropping motion. And I've used some different sorts of tone colors. So you can see I've used a music box. Then I've got this, it's technically a drum kit sound, but I haven't used it like a drum kit or a drum kit player would. I've kind of just peppered in sort of kind of different tone colors. And I've got this kind of synth kind of sweep just to add that little extra layer. You can see it's quite sparse compared to this one. And again, there's no right or wrong. Go with your gut feeling and experiment around with these loops. Yeah? Think about the tone color, think about what kind of textures you might use, and these all have features where you can edit them, okay? You can change the pitch, you can quantize it, fade in, fade out. There are filters you can put on, you know, play with that stuff and see what you come up with. Alright, so you're happy with your 4 looping tracks, you're happy with how they're sounding so far. How are you supposed to know how they sound like together? As you can see, I've done mine separately in separate files. I thought that was the neatest way to keep it that way. I would recommend doing that so you don't get too mixed up with all the different sorts of textures and layers happening. So what you can do is you can click this and you can download it as an MP3, as you can see I've done here. Okay, because you can import MP3 and .wav files into Soundtrap. That means doing something like this, okay, where you can see I've imported them in. It's actually pretty easy and convenient, okay? Let's have a listen to how all 4 of my tracks sound like without the melodies together. Now you're going to have to start thinking about those melodies that you're going to put on top. There are a few ways to go about it. You can, 1, use your voice and record that onto the computer. 2, you can use your real-life acoustic instrument and record it like your voice. 3, you could use the computer as an instrument and use their MIDI tracks to compose your melody. Let's have a listen. This is the first melody. Let's listen to the second melody now. Let's listen to the third melody. Cool. So as you can see, I've used both my voice and the MIDI instruments to create melodies. I wanted to highlight a funny thing that happened while I was recording this, which I thought was kind of cool, was that I was recording this melody and it happened to record up here as well. It's not quite what I intended. And then I thought, oh, what if I just move this over here a little bit? So it went from being here to here. And then you get this kind of phasing effect. Well, it is literally phasing. And that was kind of cool. I thought, you guys should hear that. Okay? Play around, experiment, have fun. You've already done some work on this by composing pitch material from baby steps 1 and 2. Okay? I used all my pitch stuff from those baby steps. I didn't bother to compose new things, as in, I didn't try to reinvent the wheel. I did compose new melodies out of those pitch sets, as you just heard. So use that to help you, okay? It doesn't have to be the same as baby steps 1 and 2. That's just a springboard for you to go into this. You should end up with 4 separate looping tracks, each inspired by each square. You need to export those tracks as separate MP3 files so that when it comes time to present, separate people can loop separate tracks on their own devices. You will need to have those 3 melodies composed, and you can either 1, present it in real life yourself on your voice or your instrument, or 2, you can play it back for us already having recorded it. It's up to you.